Hi, everyone. Coach Michelle here. I thought I'd sit down and just kind of go through some nutrition stuff. I know I've posted a little bit here and there on the page, but I thought I'd give you guys, I know you like numbers. I know you like sort of digging into things and figuring out how things work. So I thought I would do that a little bit with nutrition and sort of let you guys figure out um, what you need for your fueling. So we're going to have some fun digging into figuring out sort of how much you should be fueling your body and sort of the breakdown of um, macronutrients within that fuel. So uh, let's dive in. As I am going to be posting this on the Facebook page, so please don't hesitate if you have any questions or if you want to throw some examples up and I can help you or help you decide on anything. Please don't hesitate to ask. I love this stuff. It's fun. It's sort of experimental. So don't feel like um, you need to understand it right away. You need to uh, be 100% correct your first go around. Every body is totally different. Okay, so we kind of find a starting point and then everyone sort of goes from there and figures out where they're at. So a little bit of experimentation, I guess, if you will. So let's dive in a little bit. I did want to mention sort of upfront that this is more of an elite level nutrition. There are many, many other factors of your overall nutrition that come well before digging into these factors. So if basic nutrition and general nutrition behaviors, something that you not struggle with but haven't developed yet, please reach out, or I can as well provide some help and some feedback with sort of what that looks like. But just a reminder that these are strategies for people who are experienced with nutrition and have very specific and sort of aggressive goals. What I'm going to be going over today, it does not necessarily mean that you're going to be healthier or it will give you a better quality of life. It's these options are there for someone who is looking to go be very, very specific in terms of what they are fueling their body for. Okay. Also, I just want to point out that sometimes when we dig into nutrition this much, sometimes our behaviors can potentially get a little bit unhealthy. So I just wanted to remind you that potentially hormones can get disrupted. There's potential for disordered eating when we take a look at our nutrition and we calculate it so much. And some other things that potentially can become affected are relationships or some other interests that you currently do that might change if you dive into being very specific on this, or if you have a race coming up. Say you have to have a specific macro plan and you can't go out for dinner with your friends. So there are definitely some trade-offs with being super, super specific with your nutrition. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Just a reminder that please monitor yourself and make these decisions generally for short-term goals, a competitive season. We never, ever want to sacrifice our long-term health for anything in the short term. Okay. So I think that's all I wanted to say for that. With that said, I want you guys, if you are digging into any new nutrition program, or even just our new endurance program, just a reminder to monitor yourself always as you go. When you're changing up your nutrition, it is important to monitor your performance. Is it negatively affecting my performance? Am I not giving myself enough energy where I feel fueled during my workouts? Or is my performance skyrocketing? Is are the changes that I'm making in my nutrition paying off? Okay, so sort of looking at that performance as a key indicator as to whether you're on point with that nutrition. Body composition. Have potentially you started this um, new way of nutrition, and all of a sudden you're dropping weight, and you're not intending to? Okay, always sort of monitoring where your body composition is at to um, make sure we're meeting the overall goals. Um, Third one would be monitoring your recovery. So, are you sleeping well? Um, is your HRV? I know a bunch of us wear a Whoop band, which monitors your HRV. I think some Garmin bands do as well. Something to look into, um, and a metric that we can use to monitor our overall recovery. Um, on a weekly, monthly basis when we make these changes. And last but not least, our psychological well-being. So am I moody? Are the changes that I'm making um, with my diet, are they just making me go crazy? Am I uh, going too much into the numbers? Am I really thinking about every minuscule thing that I put into my mouth? Okay, so just sort of um, monitoring your psychological well-being. We we want to make sure um, that you want to continue to train, and we don't want that nutrition to hinder any sort of performance. So, a few things to monitor as you guys go when you're sort of making nutritional changes like this. Okay, so let's dig into the nitty gritty of calculations, the fun part. So, step one is determine your caloric need. Okay, so determining your caloric needs. All we do to get started is we simply want to match your goals and your activity level in the table below. Okay, I posted this last week. This gives us a baseline of the calories that we should be consuming. Okay, so what that looks like is I took out the sedentary lifestyle in here. Um, you guys are definitely not in that category. So we've got two options over here: are moderately active. That's if we're training about 3 to 4 times a week. Excuse me. And then we've got our very active, training 5 to 7 times per week. Okay, so that's our activity level. And then we've got our goals. So you can have a goal of weight loss, weight maintenance, or weight gained. Within the endurance crew, I would say most of us would be in that weight maintenance area. Okay. Um, Potentially, we could have some on either side, but I would say the majority of our endurance crew would be in this mix here. Okay, so this 14 to 16 and 16 to 18, we would multiply our body weight in pounds by these numbers um, to give us our caloric intake. Okay, so what that looks like is I just put in through two random examples on here. Doc Kyle that I've used on the Facebook post is also a great example, and it goes through step by step as well. So you can use that one. But here's two examples. If we have a 140-pound, very active woman interested in weight maintenance, we would begin by taking the 16 and 18. So very active weight maintenance, we'd be looking at the 16 to 18. Okay, so 140 pounds times 16 and 140 pounds times 18. We want her to be taking in between 2,240 and about 2,500. Okay, that's sort of our baseline caloric intake that we would start with for this woman, and then we would tweak it accordingly as we go. Okay, example 2, we have a 195-pound moderately active man interested in weight loss. Okay, so we've got a moderately active interested in weight loss. We'd use that 12 to 14 number. So 195 pounds times 12, 195 times 14. We're looking at about anywhere from 2350 to 2750 as this overall caloric intake. Okay, if I was giving them a caloric intake to start with, I would probably average those two and start with something that was in the middle, and then you could either add or decrease that caloric intake as necessary. Okay, so that is step 1, determining your caloric needs. Okay, so step 2, determine your macronutrients. So this one is cool. We can potentially look at our macronutrient breakdown based off of body type, which is super cool. We have on here 3 different body types. We have our ectomorphic, we have our mesomorph, and we have our endomorph. Okay, so these are 3 different body types. We've got our naturally thin with skinny limbs, naturally muscular, sort of that athletic build, and then our naturally broad and thick. So sometimes we take this into consideration when we're deciding what macronutrient breakdown we want to choose. Okay, and then our fitness goal is also endurance. If we want strength, absolute strength, we also take those into consideration when we're determining that macronutrient breakdown. Okay, so the typical goals on the first macronutrient breakdown would be someone who wants to sort of maintain their strength during high volume endurance exercise. So this would definitely be an area that I would recommend starting with for this crew. With the high amount of endurance training that we're doing, we'd be looking at breaking down that caloric intake that we just looked at. 25% protein, 55% carbs, and 20% fat. Okay. If you were looking to, let's say you were looking to build some strength, improve some athletic performance, you're not doing as much high volume cardio, we would definitely decrease those carbs, and then we would be decreasing them even more with sort of that different body type, and for someone that wanted to improve just basic strength and power for that last one. Okay, so if we want to gain muscle or improve endurance, we would sort of start with that first 25, 55, 20%. If we were looking to, let's say, lose a bit of fat, we would probably start in that we would be in that last one. And then if we wanted to improve sort of strength or power, we would be up here. Okay, so I kind of said that wrong a little bit a second ago. But all we got to do is kind of think about where you're at in terms of your fitness goals and then decide where we want to start. Okay, I don't want you guys to get bogged down on, oh my gosh, what should I choose? Where should I start? Remember, this is just sort of a starting point, and we can change it up as we go. Okay, so like I mentioned, this one is for high volume endurance exercise. So I would say I would recommend most of us sort of be targeting those percentages. Okay, so that is determining the percentages. So step one, we determined our caloric intake, how much calories we need. Okay, step two, within those calories, what percentage are protein, what percentage are carbs, and what percentage are fat. Okay, and then I jumped a step. Step three, we are going to convert that percentage into grams, so we actually know how much we should eat of each macronutrient. Okay, so what we need to remember is that and you don't really need to remember this, you just need to use it in a calculation. Each gram of protein contains 4 kilocalories, okay, and carbs are 4, and fat is 9. Okay, so those are the numbers that we use in the following equations to figure out how many grams of each we get. Okay, so we are going to convert these calories into grams of each macro. So we're going back to our 140-pound very active woman. So I've taken her caloric intake of 2,240, okay? And she has a big marathon race planned in the fall. So we're putting her on the high volume endurance exercise. She's doing a lot of cardiovascular work. So we're putting her on the 25% protein, 55% carbs, and 20% fat. So I'm going to take that caloric intake, multiply by 25%, and that's going to give us 560 calories. Okay. Same thing for carbs at 55%. We've got 1,232. Okay. And at that 20%, we've got 448 calories. So how do we move that over to grams? Just like I said, we've got those 4, 4, and 9 numbers. We're going to divide the calories of each of that macronutrient by its number. So protein, within the 2,240 calorie diet, within that endurance macronutrient breakdown, we want this woman to have 140 grams of protein a day. We want 308 grams of carbs per day, and we want 50 grams of fat. Okay, so those 3 different macronutrients at that gram level is going to get her the caloric intake that she needs, and it's going to give her the macronutrient breakdown that she needs to be successful in her type of sport and get her ready for that big marathon race planned in the fall. So simple calculations, nothing too complicated. I want to start with those calculations first, and sort of get our contents under control, and then we can worry about a little bit. We'll talk a little bit more about nutrient timing. Yes, we're going to eat all of these grams, but I guess the question is, where and when do I eat them? Okay, so this is kind of our first step, figuring out how much we should be eating and what that should look like. And then we'll get into a little bit more about where on in the day we need to be eating some of that stuff. So dive into it, guys. Have some fun with it. Figure out what your goals are. I probably could guess them. Throw your numbers in the calculations and just see where you're at. You can definitely use something like MyFitnessPal to once you figure out where you're at, you can adjust where you want to be for your macro content in there, and then you can track for a week or two. Just see where you're at, see what you're intaking now, and then sort of see what changes you need to make in the future. So good luck, everyone, and please don't hesitate to ask if you have any questions. We're here to help. Thanks. Talk to you guys soon.